I guess we can get my thoughts out. Although, to be quite honest with you, there isn't like a ton to go over. It's just going to be like a lot of rambling, but let's go for it. So, first and foremost, it's a Souls game. I mean, if you've played Dark Souls or any of the series, you kind of know what to expect going in with this. Now, this is a remake of the first one, Demon Souls, which technically isn't the first one. It was just like the first. Hey, there's the cat. Oh, I was covering it. Ah, damn it. I fucked up. Okay. There's a cat ring. I think it was a cat ring. It's some ring that if you equipped it, there's a stupid little placeholder cat picture, like somebody's cat that was on the frame. The Legend is the original Demon Souls to Die Hard. Oh, I didn't get to read it. Whatever. Anyways, and they just put it on a tree there in the credits. But yeah, so this was essentially the first in the series of Souls games, but not the Dark Souls series. I know, confusing, but bear with me. And this is a current gen remake of that. I never got to play the original more than say like an hour or two, because my friend had it and I played at his house on his file just to kind of dick around, and I didn't really get anything. I just kind of fumbled around in combat. But the presence was there, and honestly, I enjoyed this game a lot. It just felt a little lacking. There's so all the positives for the Soul series apply to this. The combat's fun and engaging. I could just do it over and over and over again. The art design, mind-numbingly like awesome. So much cool shit. So many awesome enemy designs, boss designs, level designs. Level designs are second to none in my opinion. As far as like the series goes, in this game it holds up to it. Like there's so many backtracking paths and like shortcuts, and everything just feels so natural. It all meshes in together. It all just works, and it's a lot of fun to just kind of roam around and explore. I was following a walkthrough mostly just to know where to go and how to do certain things. I wasn't really following it, note for note to try to get everything. I was just doing it on my own, having fun exploring at my own pace, seeing how things go, and here we are. In terms of difficulty, hands down, easiest of them all, period. Just easiest of them all. There was a couple annoying parts, but it was mostly because I was impatient. I didn't want to sit there and kill every enemy over and over again. But going through, I think there was only one part that was like genuinely difficult for me, and that was the fucking roly-poly skeletons. Fuck them. They're the most annoying enemy in the entire series. What's annoying enemy in any game ever? But other than that, it's not very hard. The enemies all, for the most part, have like a limited number of moves, so you kind of get a good read on them pretty quick. The hardest enemies in the game are going to end up being the phantoms. I'd argue they're harder than the bosses in some cases, and that's what I wanted to get to with this. This is the most important point I wanted to make. The bosses. There were a couple good ones. Flame Lurker, awesome, really intense fight. The hero, old hero I think it was, that was actually a pretty intense fight too. Albeit not the hardest, but it was definitely up there. It's probably because the weapon I had was just busted, so I'll toss it up to being a little bit overpowered. But otherwise, like, there was no real gimmick to the fight, nothing to make it just like ridiculously easy. Though I'm sure there probably would have been a tactic, I just didn't look into it. I digress. There was way too many gimmick fights in this one. The actual final boss, not the thing I fought inside the big giant woodworm, but like the king, that was actually a really hard fight. I was a little nervous that I wasn't going to get it on my first try. The only reason I did get it on my first try was because my weapon was so strong. He he had very narrow windows of opportunity to attack, and his attacks hit really fucking hard. So I'll say hands down, he was probably the hardest boss in the game for me. The penetrator would have been pretty difficult too. It was kind of difficult, mostly because I didn't know about the little exploit gimmick where you could get a guy to join you and mostly keep the attention of the penetrator. But that aside, still a good fight, still interesting, still fun, still challenging, still rewarding. All of them were pretty rewarding for the most part. But some of the gimmick fights, like I said, are just kind of a shame. There's too many of them. The Stormcaller one, that one was really cool. Probably one of the coolest looking bosses in my opinion. Easy fight. Gimmick fight. What can you say? The Tower Knight, I am so split on this guy because he is hard, sort of. If you're like me and you don't know what you're doing, he's difficult as hell. I died the most to that boss fight, but I didn't even have an overpowered weapon at the time. I had just pretty much regular shit, like the crushing axe. I think 1 or 2 was the highest level I had at the time. Chunks of his health were going away because basically the gimmick was you knock him down and you can hit him in the head, or honestly, if you hit him anywhere while he's down, you're doing more damage, significantly more damage. But if you hit him in the head especially, you do a lot of damage. So gimmick. This guy coming up on the screen right now, it's above my head. Another gimmick boss fight. You shoot that little bird thing on his head. Hey, you just stand up on the top. Boom, boom. There's a leech boss. I don't remember what it's called. That one was fucking easy. This guy coming up right here. Right here. This one. That's the old hero, the blind guy. He was cool. He was a tough fight. Not gonna lie. What do we got coming up right now? So this one, this thing right here, that's coming up right underneath me. That one was the Storm King thing. Super easy guy. Another one. This guy. This is the leech. Also super easy. Both of them more or less gimmick fights. I think the leech one was just there's an easy way to exploit it by just sitting up on the ledge and shooting at him. Cheesing it, I should say. I shouldn't say exploiting it. The spider, well, while I didn't use the cheese, he was still challenging, sort of, but it still went down pretty quick. The fucking coolest looking boss, I take it back. The Storm King thing, second coolest. The actual coolest looking boss, the Dragon God, pushover. He's a set piece boss. I wouldn't even say gimmick. He's a set piece boss. You just got to go do these things, and then that's it. So yeah, the bosses in this one are probably my least favorite of the whole series in terms of variety. Some of the designs are really cool, but the ultimate execution is kind of disappointing. Not gonna lie. But that being said, it's not disappointing to where I would say skip it, don't play it. Especially if you love FromSoft's games, their catalog, and their style. This is a must play, hands down. The story is a little bit easier to follow, honestly, than other Souls games. I'd say this is probably the easiest, next to like Sekiro. Elden Ring's actually kind of simple to follow too, but to complete it is really challenging because there's a lot of subtle stuff. This one, especially once you understand the world tendency stuff, it's not as challenging as you would expect. So to bring it all back home, I'm gonna give this like I want to give the game like a solid. For me, so I usually do 2 like ratings when I do my thoughts. For me, I'm gonna give this like a 7 out of 10, only because it was really short, too many gimmicky fights, like it wasn't as challenging. I kind of did it to myself with the weapon I use, but at the same time I've used similar weapons in other Souls games and it was still really fucking hard. So, but this game was really easy. It wasn't as challenging, and typically play these games for that challenge, because I'm not a glutton for punishment, but I do really get off on that sense of accomplishment and achievement in beating the games, beating the bosses, beating challenges in the games. That being said, overall, I'm going to give this a 8 out of 10 because it looks amazing. It plays amazing. There's only one technical issue that I have with the game, just one, and that's certain parts, certain attacks go through walls and like go clip through edges of things. That irritated the fuck out of me, because times when they should be able to get me, they don't, and in times where they definitely should not be able to, they do. For instance, earlier I was chopping away at these skellies that were rolling, and I got them on a ledge, and they were attacking, and they did like a upward swipe or upward slice, and that went through the platform that they were up against and hit me. So I'm up on a platform above them. Okay, I'm up here, they're down here, and there's a ledge in between us, and they were able to swing through that ledge and clip through and hit me. Bullshit. That was absolute bullshit in my opinion. But that is it. That is the only technical problem I saw with this game at all. Nothing else was bad. I think my controller might have been funky, because there were some times where I hit the dodge button and just didn't fucking do anything. And it wasn't because I was low on stamina or nothing, but I'm not going to blame the game on that. I think that might be something on my end. But that is like legitimately it. This game is polished to perfection. Like, this is smoother than eggs, my dude. The game is really well put together. Like I said, it looks really good. This is a really good kind of showcase as to what the PS5 can do, especially in terms of visuals and performance. And good God, I can't get over how good it looks. It is just it is so much pleasure on the eyes. Ugh, so good. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's a Souls game. So the amount of content really kind of comes down to how much you play it, how much time you give it. New cutscene.
Let strength be granted so the world might be mended. Soul of the lost withdrawn from its vessel. Let strength be granted so the world might be mended. So the world might be mended.
And we're doing it all over again.
Holds together the northern land of Boletaria. Thou canst not quit the Nexus, but the 5 archstones will guide you.
That's actually something else I'd like to mention. The Arcstones. There is a very obvious 6th Arcstone. The thing that fucks with me is they even went out of their way to put it in the menu. So for this screen here, like, that's weird to me, man. Like, I feel like that should be like that should be content. They should do DLC or something, but I digress. The amount of content in this game, it comes down to how much you play it. It's a Souls game, so they've got the new game plus. They actually added a good more of a unique twist to it called the Fractured World, I think it's called, or Fractured Mode or something like that, in which you basically play all the levels in reverse or something to that degree. I'm not going to bother with it personally, but it is there. There's a lot of extra fucking content to do, especially if you want to, max out your character, get all the things, get all the items. If you're not following a guide and you're kind of just fumbling your way through, you probably missed a lot of stuff. Like I said, I followed a guide. I fumbled my way through, but I kind of stopped myself before making any critical decisions or going down any, points of no return. But it's just a wealth of content, albeit it's a quicker Souls game than most. there's still just so much to do, so much to play, and that's a beautiful thing. Art design, overall stellar. That's like a 10 out of 10. I fucking love how this game looks. The weapon designs are really cool, albeit limited, but again, this is a remake of a game from like 2000s, I think. I don't know when the first Demon Souls came out, so forgive me on that, but it is an older game, like 15-20 years ish, probably around 15 years, so it's old, but it looks great for what they have in it. They made what was available already also look really good. The art design, again, is just beautiful, and the direction they take every aspect of it is just cranked up to 11. The weapons look really good, the armor sets look really good, even the items look pretty interesting, like the preview pictures and stuff. Like if you're going through the inventory, like, I mean, it's just a bundle of grass, but like they went out of their way to actually make it, make it look interesting for the most part. And then, I mean, you've got these jars with extra textures all over them. Like, these are just basic items that you wouldn't really like think of twice, but even they have pretty cool design. The rings look cool. Like, everything just looks really well done. They took their time making it look as great as they possibly can. The levels, like themselves, like the visual look, good God, I wish I figured out the photo mode sooner, because holy crap, there are so many fucking awesome zones. And yeah, so I've been rambling for a while. This is a longer My Thoughts video, and I started off by saying it's short. So let me just summarize everything again, and we'll wrap this all up. Demon Souls for me is probably like a 7 out of 10. There's a few things, if I get nitpicky about it, that, kind of put it down lower on the list of the Souls genre, but in no way, shape, or form does that mean it's a bad game or you shouldn't play it. I would argue that this is an absolute must play and the perfect starting point for the Souls game series. If you've never played Souls before, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, start with this one. Because if you don't have other Souls games to compare to, it's fucking phenomenal. It's gonna blow your mind because of it has all the elements of a Souls series. It's a little lacking. Like I said, it doesn't have as much, but again, it's an older game, so I'm not going to hold that against it too much. Just my personal preference and from my experiences, it does kind of suck, and it does play a factor into how I overall felt about it. But taking my personal feelings out of it and just looking at it for what it is, this is actually, you know what? I'm going to take my 8 out of 10, throw it out the window. Kibosh it. 9 out of 10. Easy fucking choice. Like, easy thought. 9 out of 10 because of everything I've already said. It looks great. It runs perfectly. There is like no problem with it. Actually, let me see what my soul tendency is. Pure white soul tendency. Let's go. The story is a little bit easier to follow than most of the other Souls games. I actually found it really interesting. I like to hear all the characters talk, tell me about what's going on, read some of the item descriptions, get some of the background lore, like all that stuff. It's actually really interesting, really cool. And if you actually take the time to listen to it, I'm not going to say it's subjective in that, you may or may not find it cool. The fact is, they got the detail out, they got the storytelling out, and it's not everything is just about the overall plot. They've got world building, they've got lore building in it, and again, if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine, but the fact remains, it's there. They've got a wealth of it, and you can't deny that's a good thing. Like, when a lot of people complain games nowadays don't have enough story, this one definitely does. So just to reiterate one last time, wrap this up, for me, it's a 7 out of 10. I feel like it could, compared to other games especially, could use a little bit more content. Even taking that out, I still feel like they should have put that last Arcstone in there. Come on, what are you doing, Blue Point? You had the opportunity. and too many gimmicky boss fights. I feel like out of the entire series, these were like a lot of easy ones. So I just kind of felt left. I was left wanting with some bosses. Like I wanted some more challenge and just more bosses. There was a good amount. But I want more. That aside, 9 out of 10. Outside of my personal grievances, absolute must play. If you have a PS5, this is needs to be in your library. If it's not, you're doing something wrong. If you haven't played the Souls series before, Elden Ring or anything like that, like I said before, start with this one. This is a perfect starting point for people to get into these kinds of games. It's not all that difficult in the comparison to other ones. It's a little bit more straightforward. It teaches you how to play these kinds of games, how to think, how to like inspect the environment, how to navigate it, how to navigate the game as a whole, what to expect. This is just a great teacher, and I honestly couldn't recommend it more. Even if you have played other Souls games, I still recommend playing this one, especially if you haven't, because it was enjoyable. I loved going through it. I loved seeing all the cool things they added and everything. So I would highly, highly encourage you to take the time and go check out the Demon Souls remake. It's only on PS5 right now. Might hit us with it on PC in the future. Maybe by the time you're seeing this, it's already on PC. If that's the case, absolutely give it a shot on there. Probably run and look even better. But for the time being, go check it out. Those are my thoughts. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys.